Ever looked at something most people throw away and wondered, what if it could be beautiful again? Today, we're diving into DIY trash garden ideas, simple, affordable, and surprisingly stunning projects that can transform your backyard, patio, or even the tiniest yard into a place full of color and charm. Welcome to Nest Nature, a channel where creativity meets thrift, and every idea is designed to inspire you to see beauty where others see waste. This video includes timestamps so you can jump straight to the ideas you need, and if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below. And remember, maybe to you, I'm just another voice behind the screen. But every like, every comment, every subscribe, they mean more than you think. You're not just supporting content, you're helping a dream live on, and giving a small family hope with every click. Thank you for being here, and thank you for seeing me. In the heart of a tiny English-inspired garden, where the fragrance of marigolds lingers in the air and chrysanthemums sway gently in the breeze, a simple row of rustic cups tells a story of charm and transformation. These once-forgotten teacups, chipped at the edges and dulled by time, have found a new life as a garden border. Painted in soft pastel hues, pale mint, blush pink, lavender, and sky blue, they gleam under the morning sun, each one cradling a tiny world of flowers. As you stroll along the pathway, your eye is drawn to the playful mismatched designs, a line of delicate ceramics peeking out from the soil, their handles rising like whimsical curls. Inside them, asters unfold their purple petals, while golden marigolds burn brightly like little suns. Sedum autumn joy cascades in dusky rose clusters, adding a grounding texture to the scene. Tiny Japanese anemones nod politely in the breeze, their elegance a gentle counterpoint to the bold blooms. The cups themselves form not just a border, but a conversation between the past and the present. Once serving tea at family tables, now they serve color, fragrance, and life to a tiny garden corner. There is a thriftiness in their reuse, but also a poetry, reminding us that beauty does not demand perfection, only imagination. The rustic wooden fence beyond frames the view like a painting, while overhead a pergola catches shadows of vines. In the quiet afternoon, a bird lands on a handle, pecking curiously at a petal. Children giggle at the sight, their laughter mixing with the rustle of leaves. For a moment, the garden feels alive not only with plants but with stories woven into its soil. What was once trash has become treasure. What was fragile has become enduring. These rustic cup borders whisper that every object holds another chance to shine, if placed with care among flowers that bloom despite the season. And as twilight falls, the pastel colors soften, the cups glowing gently in the last golden light, as though they had always belonged there, marking the edge of a dream garden. In the quiet of a small backyard, where the hum of bees drifts lazily in the late afternoon, a set of towers rise, not of stone or brick, but of humble tin cans painted into splashes of color. Once discarded as kitchen trash, these cans have been reborn into vertical sculptures of life. Stacked one upon another, they create columns that lift blossoms toward the sky, each layer holding a pocket of charm. The eye dances from bright marigolds spilling golden flames from the top, down to asters in shades of violet, their petals like soft brushstrokes against the pastel-painted cans. Chrysanthemums cluster in rich reds and yellows, creating a fiery crown on each tower. From the sides, sedum autumn joy cascades in dusky rose tones, while Japanese anemones arch gracefully, their pale blooms catching the breeze. The cans, painted in hues of turquoise, coral, sunshine yellow, and gentle lavender, become a backdrop for the symphony of flowers. Placed along a patio corner or nestled into the edge of a tiny yard, the towers rise with a playful elegance. Against the rustic backdrop of a bamboo fence or beneath the shade of a pergola, they become both decoration and statement. Beauty need not come from wealth, but from the courage to see possibility in what others discard. As the day shifts, sunlight glimmers across the glossy painted surfaces, highlighting textures of rust now sealed beneath layers of cheerful paint. The towers catch shadows of nearby foliage, creating patterns that dance across the ground. Birds hover curiously, dipping between the blossoms, while butterflies rest briefly on petals, turning the towers into living beacons of nature. Children see them as castles of flowers, while neighbors pause to admire the transformation. These towers invite conversation, laughter, and inspiration. They stand as proof that trash is not the end of a story but the beginning of a new one. At twilight, when the garden quiets, the towers remain, still glowing faintly in the fading light, their colors softened but steadfast. They remind the soul that renewal is not only for flowers and seasons, but for everything that passes through our hands. Even the simplest tin can, painted with hope, can rise into art. In a corner of the garden where pathways wind and the air is heavy with the fragrance of marigolds, a row of old vintage lamp posts stands tall. Yet, these lamps no longer glow with electricity. Their glass shades are gone, their metal softened by paint in hues of farmhouse cream, rustic white, and gentle sage. What once was built to cast light has now been reborn to hold life. Each lamp is crowned with a planter brimming with color. Chrysanthemums spill over the edges like fireworks frozen in bloom, while asters spread their violet petals as though reaching for the sky. Golden marigolds burn warmly, their glow rivaling the sunlight itself. In another, sedum autumn joy tumbles in rose clusters, while Japanese anemones bow gracefully, their pale blossoms trembling in the breeze. The transformation is both whimsical and poetic. These posts, once discarded as outdated junk, now mark the borders of a patio, or frame the entry to a tiny garden. Standing upright, they bring vertical rhythm to the landscape, guiding the eye upward and creating a dialogue between earth and sky. Their presence is striking yet gentle, as though they have always belonged in a cottage garden setting. As you walk along the gravel path, the painted posts shimmer under the afternoon sun. Shadows from nearby pergola vines create lace-like patterns across their surfaces. A butterfly lands upon a bloom, then flits away, leaving the flowers swaying gently. Birds hop curiously at the bases, pecking at fallen petals, while neighbors glance over the fence, pausing to admire the ingenuity. These planters are more than decoration, they are storytellers. They whisper of evenings long ago when lamps lit quiet streets, of hands that once polished their glass, of days when their light guided footsteps home. Now, they guide the gaze to flowers, reminding us that beauty never truly fades, it only shifts form. As twilight arrives, the garden glows not with lamplight, but with blossoms blazing against the soft dusk. The posts, proud in their second life, seem almost to sigh with contentment. They no longer need to shine with fire. Instead, they shine with life, carrying flowers that bloom bravely against the turning seasons. At the edge of a small backyard, where flowers gather in cheerful abundance, a wooden fence has been transformed into a canvas of unexpected beauty. Instead of remaining plain and bare, it is adorned with mosaics, yet not mosaics of stone or glass, but of cardboard, once fragile and forgotten, now strengthened by layers of sealant and painted with vibrant hues. Each piece of cardboard has been cut into shapes, triangles, leaves, petals, and waves. Painted in pastel pinks, seascape blues, farmhouse greens, and sunny yellows, they come together to form a patchwork of joy. Against the rustic fence, the colors glow like fragments of a storybook illustration. At the base, chrysanthemums bloom in clusters of golden red, asters stretch their violet petals outward, and marigolds stand tall with fiery crowns, their energy echoing the mosaic above. The result is a dialogue between the handmade and the natural. The fence, once a silent boundary, now sings with personality. The mosaic does not pretend to be perfect. Its charm lies in its irregularity, in the way the pieces fit together with human warmth rather than factory precision. Birds perch on the edges, tilting their heads curiously at the patterns, while butterflies float from flower to flower, occasionally pausing on the painted panels as though the art were alive. In the afternoon light, shadows of vines weave across the mosaic, shifting its mood from bright playfulness to soft mystery. In the evening, as the sun lowers, the colors deepen, glowing softly against the fading sky. The cardboard, once destined for the recycling bin, has become part of the landscape, part of the soul of the garden. This transformation is not only an act of decoration but an act of defiance against waste. It is a statement that even the humblest materials, when touched by imagination, can carry beauty. For those who sit in the garden, resting on a rustic bench or under the shade of a pergola, the fence becomes a backdrop of inspiration, a reminder that life blooms wherever creativity dares to plant it. And so the cardboard mosaic, fragile yet enduring, stands proud, a colorful testament that even the simplest materials can guard a garden with art, laughter, and light. When the sun begins its slow descent and the garden slips into the gentle hush of evening, the farmhouse tin lanterns awaken. Hung beneath a pergola or along the sturdy lines of a bamboo fence, these lanterns, once simple food cans destined for the trash, now shimmer with new life. Their surfaces, painted in warm farmhouse whites, pastel blues, and soft greens, gleam faintly as candlelight flickers within. Each lantern is pierced with patterns, tiny holes punched into flowers, stars, and swirling vines. As the candles glow, the patterns cast intricate shadows that dance across the garden floor, flickering over gravel paths and brushing the petals of marigolds with golden lace. The chrysanthemums nearby, full and bold, seem to lean toward the lanterns as though basking in their borrowed light. Asters glimmer violet in the twilight, their colors deepening against the soft illumination. The air is filled with a sense of peace, touched by the quiet crackle of a candle wick and the faint rustle of evening leaves. These lanterns are not just decor. They are companions to the night, storytellers that remind us of evenings long ago when light came from flame, not electricity. Their rustic simplicity blends with the cottage atmosphere, echoing a time when nothing was wasted, when every item found a second life. Visitors pause beneath their glow, enchanted by the intimacy they create. Couples sit quietly beneath the pergola, their faces lit by shifting patterns, while children giggle at the starry shapes scattered across the ground. The lanterns whisper of thrift and creativity, of how beauty is often found in what we choose to save rather than what we discard. As the night deepens, the garden takes on a magical quality. The lanterns sway gently in the breeze, their flickers mirroring the dance of fireflies that occasionally wander by. The scent of Japanese anemones drifts lightly in the air, mixing with the earthy fragrance of soil cooling under the stars. In this glow, time seems to slow. The farmhouse tin lanterns, humble in origin yet radiant in spirit, turn a tiny backyard into a sanctuary. They are proof that light can be crafted not only from candles, but from imagination itself. At the edge of a cottage garden where flowers spill joyfully from their beds, something curious catches the eye. Cups, once destined for forgotten cupboards, now stand proudly as bird feeders. Their handles curve upward like whimsical gestures, their saucers wide with welcome, and within them lie tiny offerings of seeds. Painted in pastel pinks, farmhouse whites, and sky blues, each cup becomes a miniature stage. Sparrows flutter down, their wings trembling with excitement as they perch upon delicate rims. Finches hop lightly from cup to cup, chirping brightly as though the garden itself has become their dining hall. The air fills with a symphony of songbirds, their voices blending with the rustle of asters and the gentle sway of marigolds. Beneath the feeders, chrysanthemums bloom in bursts of gold and crimson, while sedum autumn joy adds grounding clusters of soft rose. Japanese anemones lift their elegant blooms above the foliage, their pale petals trembling when birds take flight. Together, flowers and feeders weave a tapestry of life that feels both natural and enchanting, a blend of utility and poetry. Children watch in wonder, their laughter hushed to whispers as they see the tiny creatures dine. Neighbors pause at the fence, charmed not only by the sight of birds but by the creativity that turned forgotten cups into something magical. The feeders invite conversation and delight, sparking inspiration in every visitor who wonders what might be created from simple things. As the day drifts into evening, the feeders glow softly in the golden light. Birds continue their visits, their feathers catching the sunset as though brushed with fire. The cups, chipped in places, worn by age, carry no pretense of perfection. Instead, they remind us of the beauty of reuse, of how even the humblest objects can create joy when placed with care among flowers and living creatures. In this small corner of a tiny garden, the cottage cup bird feeders transform the air itself. They bring wings and music, they draw the eye and the heart, and they whisper of a truth often forgotten, that nature and imagination, when brought together, can turn even the simplest vessel into a treasure worth keeping. of a backyard stands a gazebo, its wooden beams weathered by time, its roof catching the soft glow of sunlight. Yet what makes it sing with character are the planters that sway gently from its beams. They are not expensive pots nor sculpted baskets, they are tin cans, once cast aside, now painted and reborn as vessels of beauty. Each can tell its own story through color. One gleams in turquoise, echoing the tones of the sea, another shines in soft farmhouse white, its surface punched with delicate floral designs. Coral, lavender, and sunshine yellow join the chorus, creating a rainbow of hues that catch the eye and warm the heart. Suspended by rustic ropes, they sway gently in the breeze, turning the gazebo into a living chandelier of flowers. From within them spill cascades of life. Marigolds burst like drops of fire, their golden crowns shimmering in the afternoon. Asters release their violet stars, while chrysanthemums cluster in rich shades of ruby and cream. In softer corners, sedum autumn joy trails with its dusky rose blooms, and Japanese anemones nod gracefully, their pale petals trembling in the wind. Together they form a spectacle of motion and color, alive in every direction. The gazebo itself becomes more than a shelter, it becomes a sanctuary. Birds dart between the hanging planters, pausing to sip nectar, while butterflies hover lightly, drawn to the blossoms. Beneath, the ground is alive with shadows, patterns shifting as the cans swing, a quiet dance across gravel and grass. The fragrance of flowers mixes with the scent of fresh wood and evening air, wrapping the space in a gentle embrace. Visitors who step beneath the canopy find themselves transported. Neighbors admire its thrift and charm, marveling at how something as ordinary as a tin can could become a vessel of enchantment. Children gaze upward, eyes wide, as if the ceiling itself were raining flowers. As twilight settles, the hanging cans catch the last golden rays, glowing as though lit from within. The gazebo, once an ordinary garden feature, now stands as the centerpiece of a story told in color and bloom. It reminds all who see it that beauty does not demand extravagance. It asks only for imagination and the willingness to let even discarded things rise again with grace. Backyard, where shadows lengthen and flowers hold the day's final light, a gentle glow begins to bloom. It comes not from lanterns or lamps, but from humble cups, vintage teacups once forgotten in cupboards, now painted in soft farmhouse whites, rustic creams, and pastel hues. Each cup cradles a candle, its flame flickering against the delicate curves of porcelain, casting a golden halo that transforms the corner into a sanctuary. The candles whisper warmth as they glow among the flowers. Marigolds, fiery and bold, catch the light and seem to burn brighter still. Chrysanthemums shimmer in clusters of gold and crimson, while asters release a soft violet glow under the candles' dance. Sedum autumn joy gathers the light on its dusky rose clusters, while Japanese anemones sway nearby, their pale petals trembling as though in reverence to the flame. The effect is intimate, tender, almost magical. The rustic wooden bench nearby becomes an invitation to sit, to breathe, to linger. Couples share hushed words in the glow. Children watch wide-eyed as shadows play across the fence, and neighbors peek curiously, drawn by the soft flicker that spills into the night. Each cup tells its own quiet story. Once used for tea on rainy afternoons, now they serve light instead of drink. Their chipped edges no longer signal imperfection but add character, a reminder that beauty need not be flawless to touch the heart. Painted anew, they carry life again, glowing gently among the blooms. As the evening deepens, the corner becomes a stage for twilight. The flames sway with the breeze, their reflections mirrored in the porcelain curves. The garden itself seems to pause, the flowers leaning toward the glow as though to bask in its warmth. In the silence, the candles offer more than light, they offer memory, comfort, and peace. This corner is not extravagant, nor grand. It is simple, thrifty, and deeply human. It shows that even in the smallest spaces, beauty can be crafted with care, and that what once was ordinary can become extraordinary when lit with imagination. In the rustic cup candle corners, the night blooms as richly as the garden itself. As twilight folds gently over the garden, the pathway awakens with a glow unlike any other. It is not lit by modern lamps, nor by sterile solar bulbs, but by the soft shimmer of vintage lamp heads, reborn as glowing planters. Once forgotten relics of porches and parlors, they have been painted in seascape tones, turquoise like a calm ocean, sandy beige like a warm shore, and coral red like a memory of sunset. Along the gravel path, they line up like guardians of light and bloom. Each lamp cradles both flame and flower. Inside, a candle flickers, its glow spilling through painted patterns. Around the rim, chrysanthemums burst with golden crowns, while asters stretch violet stars that seem to echo the twilight sky. Marigolds, bold and bright, spill their fiery hues, and sedum autumn joy drapes gently over the edges, blushing in the fading light. Japanese anemones lift their pale blossoms like lanterns of their own, swaying with the evening breeze. The pathway feels enchanted, alive with both movement and stillness. Shadows dance across the stones as the lamps sway lightly in their stands. The scent of flowers mixes with the faint waxy fragrance of candles, creating a harmony of earth and flame. Birds quiet their songs, giving way to the chorus of crickets, while butterflies rest hidden among the leaves, wings folded like closed books. For those who walk this path, each step feels like entering a story. Couples stroll hand in hand, their laughter softened by the glow. Children tiptoe with delight, whispering that the lamps look like sea treasures washed ashore. Even neighbors, glancing from afar, cannot help but pause, drawn to the unusual blend of seaside colors and cottage blooms. What once was discarded junk now becomes a guide through the night, leading footsteps with gentle illumination. The lamp heads, stripped of their original purpose, find new life as symbols of transformation, trash to treasure, dark to light. As the evening deepens, the lamps burn steadily, their painted shells glowing like jewels scattered along the earth. The pathway, once ordinary, is transformed into a seascape dream beneath the stars, reminding all who see it that beauty is born not from perfection, but from the courage to imagine. On the edge of a cottage-style backyard, a row of cups greets the eye with unexpected charm. They are not filled with tea, nor lined on a polished table, but perched along a rustic railing, a bamboo shelf, or a sunny patio ledge. Each cup, painted in soft hues of mint green, blush pink, seascape blue, and farmhouse cream, holds a tiny succulent, plants of quiet resilience, their thick leaves glistening with dew. The cups form a playful parade, mismatched yet harmonious. Some are chipped at the rim, others faintly cracked, but all have been reborn with color and purpose. Their handles curl like whimsical flourishes, while within them, succulents sit proudly, rosettes of jade green, clusters of soft purple, and trailing strings of pearls. Between the sturdy leaves, sedum autumn joy peeks in, blushing rose against the pastel ceramics. Around them, the garden hums with life. Marigolds rise in golden bursts, asters stretch their violet stars, and chrysanthemums bloom boldly in crimson and cream. Behind, Japanese anemones sway in the breeze, their pale blossoms framing the row like gentle guardians. The contrast of textures, succulents with their sculptural simplicity, flowers with their riotous bloom, creates a balance that feels both lively and serene. Visitors cannot help but pause. Children point with delight, enchanted by the miniature worlds within each cup. Neighbors lean over fences to admire the thrifty ingenuity, whispering ideas for their own gardens. The row becomes more than a display. It becomes a conversation, a spark of inspiration in every heart that sees it. As the day softens into evening, the cups catch the last rays of light. Their pastel surfaces glow warmly, while the succulents seem to deepen in color, their shadows stretching long across the railing. It is a simple sight, yet deeply captivating. These cups, once neglected, now remind us that beauty need not be grand to be profound. In the smallest spaces, a tiny patio, a narrow balcony, a corner of a yard, life can flourish with imagination. The cutest cup succulent row proves that even the humblest vessels, when given care, can hold not just plants, but joy itself. Along the edge of a small backyard, where the garden meets its boundary, a bamboo fence rises with simple rustic grace. Its golden stalks stand tall in neat lines, whispering softly as the breeze passes through. Yet this fence is no longer just a barrier. It has become a gallery of color, alive with recycled tin cans reborn as planters. Each can, once plain and destined for the trash, now gleams with new paint. Some shine in farmhouse whites, others in pastel turquoise, sunny yellow, or gentle cream. Their surfaces catch the sunlight, creating a cheerful rhythm against the natural texture of bamboo. Suspended neatly along the poles, they form a vertical garden that delights the eye. From the cans spill flowers that transform the fence into a living mural. Chrysanthemums burst with fiery reds and golds, marigolds stand like bright suns, and asters scatter purple stars across the scene. Sedum autumn joy tumbles over the edges in rosy clusters, while Japanese anemones lift their elegant blossoms, swaying as if greeting each passerby. The bamboo, sturdy yet humble, frames this tapestry with warmth, its earth-toned rhythm grounding the brilliance of color. The effect is both practical and poetic. Where once the fence was silent, it now sings with life. The cans provide depth and vertical texture to a tiny yard, turning a narrow space into an abundant display. Birds flit between blooms, butterflies rest briefly on petals, and even bees hum with contentment, finding nectar in unexpected corners. Visitors smile at the ingenuity. Neighbors pause, leaning closer to admire the playful mix of bamboo and painted metal. Children giggle, pointing at the rainbow cans, their laughter mingling with the garden's hum. What was once a simple fence has become a centerpiece of conversation, a living proof of thrifty creativity. As evening approaches, the painted cans take on a softer glow, their surfaces warmed by the last rays of sunlight. The bamboo darkens into shadow, while the flowers remain bright, standing proud against the fading sky. The garden feels not only bordered, but embraced, as though the fence itself has joined in the celebration of life. Here, bamboo and tin speak together, one of nature's strength, the other of human imagination. Together, they remind us that beauty grows strongest when the natural and the handmade walk hand in hand. When the wind drifts gently through a cottage garden, a melody rises, not from instruments, but from cups that once held tea. Hung from pergola beams and bamboo fences, vintage teacups sway lightly, their painted surfaces gleaming in farmhouse whites, soft blues, and muted greens. Beneath them, spoons dangle, catching the breeze, chiming softly like whispers of a lullaby. The sound is delicate, never loud, more like the quiet clink of porcelain at a family table. It carries through the air, mingling with the rustle of leaves and the hum of bees. As marigolds sway like golden lanterns and asters scatter their violet stars, the music drapes the garden in an atmosphere of calm enchantment. Chrysanthemums cluster in warm reds and golds nearby, and sedum autumn joy nods gently, adding to the rhythm of the scene. Each wind chime tells its story. Some cups are painted in pastel pinks, their handles curling like musical notes. Others remain rustic, creamy white with faint cracks that only add to their character. Once forgotten in cupboards, they now sing for the garden, offering not tea but song. Their transformation is both playful and profound, turning silence into melody, turning junk into joy. Birds flutter curiously around the chimes, startled yet fascinated by the gentle music. Children giggle, running beneath the pergola to hear the sounds rise and fall. Neighbors pause to listen as the breeze carries the melody beyond the fence, a soft invitation to step closer and see what creativity has made. In the late afternoon, when sunlight slips golden across the garden, the cups shimmer faintly, their porcelain gleaming like jewels. The spoons glint briefly before swinging back into rhythm. The flowers seem to sway in time with the music, as if nature itself were dancing. As night draws near, the wind softens, and the chimes quiet into whispers. The garden holds its breath, still carrying the memory of the day's melody. And in that hush lies the true charm, not only the beauty of flowers or the glow of paint, but the music of imagination set free. The farmhouse cup wind chimes remind us that joy is not bought but made, and that even the smallest relics of daily life can become instruments of wonder when they are given a chance to sing again. In the heart of a small patio, where stone meets wood and flowers gather in cheerful clusters, the soft murmur of water begins to play. It does not flow from marble fountains or expensive pumps, but from humble tin cans, once containers of everyday goods, now painted, stacked, and transformed into a cascading waterfall. Each can gleams with fresh color, turquoise like a summer sea, coral like sunset's edge, farmhouse cream as gentle as morning light. They tilt carefully, one above another, allowing water to slip gracefully from rim to rim, catching the sunlight in shimmering arcs. The sound is tender, a gentle trickle that fills the air with calm, weaving harmony into the garden's natural music. Around the waterfall, flowers bloom as though drawn to its song. Chrysanthemums burst in fiery shades of gold and red, asters scatter violet stars, and marigolds glow like tiny suns. Sedum autumnjoy spills its dusky rose clusters near the base, while Japanese anemones lean gracefully toward the water, their pale blossoms reflected in the rippling surface of a small stone basin. Together, flowers and water create a living painting that shifts with each breath of wind. Visitors pause in awe. Children lean closer, their eyes wide as they watch the water tumble from can to can, giggling at the playful sparkle of droplets. Neighbors admire the thrift and creativity, whispering about how ordinary trash can be reborn as the soul of a patio. Even birds dip down, sipping briefly before darting away, adding life to the quiet stream. As evening arrives, the painted cans glow warmly in the fading light. The water reflects the colors of the sky, soft blues melting into lavender and pink. The trickle slows with the hush of night, blending with the sounds of crickets and the whisper of leaves. This waterfall is not grand, yet it carries a rare magic. It reminds us that peace can be crafted from simplicity, that beauty need not demand grandeur, only imagination. From discarded tins flows not just water, but serenity. From what was once trash emerges a fountain of renewal, proof that the smallest spaces can hold the deepest tranquility. In the quiet corners of a tiny backyard, where flowers weave carpets of color and vines climb gracefully along the fence, a touch of magic appears. It comes not from spells, but from simple cups transformed into fairy houses. Each vintage teacup, once cracked or forgotten, has been painted and reimagined as a cottage for invisible guests. One cup shines in pastel pink, its handle curved like a whimsical chimney. Another glows in turquoise, adorned with hand-painted windows that peek out shyly from its rounded surface. A third, creamy white, has a tiny wooden roof perched upon it, as though inviting a fairy to step inside. The cups are nestled among chrysanthemums blazing gold, asters scattering their violet stars, and marigolds glowing warmly in the afternoon sun. Around them, sedum autumnjoy tumbles in rose clusters, while Japanese anemones stretch their pale petals, framing the scene with grace. Together, flowers and cups weave a fairy village, tiny and enchanting, as though the garden itself were alive with stories untold. Children wander near, their eyes wide with wonder. They crouch low to the ground, whispering to one another, imagining tiny footsteps behind the painted doors. Neighbors smile, charmed by the playful creativity, and adults, too, cannot resist pausing to admire the way ordinary cups have become keepers of imagination. The fairy houses do not speak, but their presence fills the garden with whispers. Every breeze seems to carry laughter, every rustle of leaves feels like the flutter of wings. The flowers, blooming abundantly, seem to lean protectively around the cups, as if guarding the secret lives they host. As twilight deepens, the fairy houses glow softly in the last golden light, their painted colors warm against the dusky sky. Lanterns may be lit elsewhere in the yard, but it is these cups, small and whimsical, that hold the true magic. They remind us that gardens are not only for plants, but also for dreams, that beauty lies as much in the stories we imagine as in the blooms we see. In these tiny cup fairy houses, the garden becomes a realm of wonder. They prove that even the smallest vessels, with a touch of paint and care, can hold worlds where imagination never fades, where magic lives quietly among petals and leaves. At the edge of the garden where soil meets path, a playful border rises, not of stone, not of wood, but of humble tin cans reborn in color. Each can, once holding food in kitchens, now gleams with fresh paint, sunshine yellow, sky blue, soft lavender, coral pink, and farmhouse cream. Half buried in the soil, they stand like soldiers of joy, marking the boundary of the garden while celebrating it at the same time. The effect is immediate and enchanting. Along the edge of a flower bed, the cans form a rhythmic pattern, a parade of color that draws the eye down the path. From behind them, flowers burst with life, chrysanthemums in gold and crimson, asters scattering violet stars, marigolds blazing like drops of fire. Sedum autumn joy softens the line, its dusky rose clusters spilling gently over the cans, while Japanese anemones rise with pale, elegant blossoms swaying in the breeze. Together, they create more than just edging. They form a story of transformation. What was once discarded trash is now a frame for beauty, humble and proud at once. Visitors cannot help but pause. Children giggle, pointing at the rainbow fence, while neighbors lean over to admire the thrifty creativity. The cans, once unnoticed, now carry a new dignity as keepers of the garden's boundary. As sunlight shifts, the painted surfaces shimmer, their colors glowing against the backdrop of green foliage. In the afternoon, shadows stretch between the cans, creating playful patterns across the soil. Birds hop along the edge, pecking curiously at the flowers, while butterflies rest briefly on petals nearby. The garden feels alive, every detail working together in harmony. By evening, when the last light of day brushes across the yard, the cans seem to glow softly, their painted hues blending with the warm tones of sunset. The border becomes not just a practical frame, but a piece of living art, proof that beauty often hides in the simplest places. This edging does more than contain flowers, it elevates them. It shows that creativity can thrive in even the smallest choices, that color can spring from the most ordinary objects, and that a garden's heart is often found at its edges. In these colorful cans, the landscape sings with joy, thrift, and imagination.